Welcome to In Business with Almanac North. I'm Ken Bueller. We're at Duluth Lawn and Sport here in the city of Duluth, and we're talking about winter tourism. Obviously, this brand new Skidoo snowmobile is a large part of winter tourism, but it's just a part. How much is tourism worth in our country, in our area? Well, the Duluth Chamber of Commerce says tourism in the economy of Duluth represents $780 million a year. Up on the Iron Range, they did a study by UMD a few years ago to find out in 2024, tourism on Minnesota's glorious Iron Range was 11% of the GDP, gross domestic product, in that area, and employed 2,900 people. Now, in Michigan's Upper Peninsula around Ironwood, where downhill skiing is king in the winter, there it's $100 million a year, according to the Chamber, and employs just over 3,000 people. Scenic Byways did a study a couple of years ago about tourism on the North Shore of Lake Superior and found out for Lake County alone, it represented $41 million. Now, those are some pretty big and important numbers, but how much of that is winter tourism? How much of that is shoulder season? And isn't the summer the big season? Well, the answer is different depending upon where you are. And that's what we're going to talk about. How much of tourism is winter related? Here we are in the great Northland, and of course snow and winter, all a part of skiing, cross-country skiing, snowmobiling, ice fishing, or just being outdoors in the winter and camp. All these are contributors, but it's just a part of what makes up tourism in the winter. Well, you've got the gas to get here. You've got hotels. You've got restaurants. And by the way, if you got one of these, more gas. So what is the percentage of the business that is tourism-oriented that has to do with winter? And we've got great guests this evening that are going to talk about that for us. All this will be discussed this evening, and we'll ask them some very interesting questions about what constitutes winter tourism and how important is it. And you know, I'm going to get some very good answers, and hopefully you're going to enjoy the program this evening, because at the very end, we're going to come back to Skidoos. Let's get on with the show. Welcome to In Business with Almanac North. I'm Ken Bueller. Tonight we're turning our attention to winter tourism and how it shapes our regional economy during the coldest and snowiest months of the year. We'll sit down with leaders from our area's tourism and holiday attractions and talk about what this season means for local business. And because 'tis the season, we'll remember an historic and very unique Christmas tree business that once operated out of the DeWitt Sites building in Duluth's Canal Park. Speaking of Christmas trees, one of the tallest and brightest is nearby at Bayfront Festival Park. We got to talk with Nathan Bentley, the mayor of Bentleyville, to learn more about the holiday attraction that draws hundreds of thousands to the Northland every year.
3, 2, 1.
Nathan Bentley with Bentleyville Tour of Lights. I'm the executive director and founder of Bentleyville. Bentleyville began back in 2003 at my home in Esco, 23 years ago now. From there, we moved it outside of Cloquet, where I live on a dead-end dirt road. And for the first couple of years, the traffic was enormous on the road. Neighbors got a little upset with the road congestion of cars. So we switched to actually busing people in. People parked in two different horse fields, our Frosty lot and our Rudolph lot. And we would run 9 72-passenger school buses circling from our parking lots to the end of my driveway, where people walked around and saw 500-plus snowflakes up in the trees and walked through our paved pathways throughout the property, stopping and getting hot chocolate and popcorn and cookies. And after doing that for just 2 years with buses, we were transporting 72,000 people by bus, and we thought it was getting a little carried away. So we took the year off in 2008, and during that time, Mayor of Duluth at that time was Mayor Don Ness, and he invited me to his office to discuss bringing my light show here to Bayfront Park. So I met with him and looked out his fourth floor window at City Hall and took the chance and said we'd come down to Bayfront Park. And we spent the next year planning and getting ready to make the big move into a 22-acre park. And in December of 2009, the lights came on here at Bayfront Park, and we've been here now the last 17 years. Bentleyville is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, simply meaning that all of our donations and all the income that we bring into the organization go right back into the organization. There's not dividends or anything that's paid out, and donations made to Bentleyville are also tax deductible. Our infrastructure is made up of our executive board of directors that meets monthly, making the higher, bigger decisions. Then we have an operations committee that meets monthly, usually the first 4 or 5 months of the year, to decide what displays we're going to put on the grounds, what new things need to happen, repairs to certain things. And then moving into the fall, the population of Duluth and the surrounding area, the volunteers come out and help us build Bentleyville with our core group of Redcoats, which is made up of about 35 of our key people that help all the volunteers build Bentleyville. Then once we open up, the community comes out again and needs 60 people here every single night to be fully operational, along with our core group, and to put on an event that hosts 350,000 people each year over the approximately 38 to 40 nights we're open each year. Coming to Bayfront Park, and due to the magnitude of the size of the event, it was necessary to be a nonprofit organization in order to get funding from certain places that literally only will donate to nonprofits. And for me, it was always free at my home, wanting to keep the event free here, and being a nonprofit allowed us to do various different funding measures to raise the money to keep it free for everybody. So you can come to Bentleyville with no money, bring $1 or $2, put it in our donation boxes to help us keep the lights on and keep things fresh and new here. And that's our main reason for having it being a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Well, Bayfront Park, with our arrangement with the City of Duluth, is one of the things is to allow us to use Bayfront at no charge. Bentleyville, through research and statistics, generates $24 million in economical impact for the City of Duluth, filling hotel rooms, filling the restaurants, filling other attractions in the area, as well as people shopping, getting gasoline, and all those sorts of things. So it's a $24 million economical impact over the 38 to 40 nights that we're open each year. Every penny that is taken into Bentleyville goes right back into Bentleyville. Over $250,000 of our budget is just buying new displays and rope lighting every year. There's so many expenditures that go on behind the scenes that people don't realize, from insurances and rental of equipment and paint and 2x4s and screws and zip ties and cookies. Santa Claus gives out every year 30,000 winter hats at Bentleyville at a cost of over $2 a piece, plus a bag of cookies. The simple quick math is over $60,000 just giving out to children winter hats and the cookies from there. Another nearly $100,000 in cookies, chocolate, popcorn, oil, marshmallows, and all the different things that we give out here for free. So every penny that's taken in goes right back into the event. We try to purchase as much locally right here as in Duluth area. Services as well as goods that we need to purchase. We generally try to put things out for bid on larger purchases to ensure that we're getting our value for our money. So we do what we can here right here in Duluth. Bentleyville sees guests right around the range of 300,000 people each year. So people are coming to Duluth not just to see the lights, but they're visiting other attractions in Duluth, whether it's Spirit Mountain or Glen Sheen, the aquarium, coming to Duluth to have conventions at the deck, and then making Bentleyville their evening entertainment. So we really try to be a partner with all the different attractions in the area so that we're embracing the whole tourism here right here in Duluth and making hopefully a good impact on the community.
This is In Business with Almanac North. Thank you for watching. Joining us now to talk about the impact of winter tourism on our local economy is Lori Huber from Lights in the Pines in Grand Rapids. And Jennifer Hansen is Marketing Director for Spirit Mountain right here in Duluth. I'd also like to say we had a guest signed up from Visit Duluth, our city's designated marketing organization, but they were forced to cancel due to illness, and we'll try to reschedule their visit at a later date. Welcome and thank you for joining us. We'll start with you, Lori, in Grand Rapids. And we just had Nathan Bentley's Tour of Lights in Canal Park. What is Lights in the Pine?
Lights in the Pines is the largest drive-through light extravaganza in northern Minnesota. It was created to generate revenue to improve the fairgrounds so that we would be able to continue to have the fairgrounds. We use volunteers to run our Lights in the Pines, and we give back to the volunteer groups that help us on the nights that we're open.
Now, this is a little different than Bentleyville. This is a drive-through event, right?
Correct. It is a drive-through. So we have nursing homes and group homes that bring their buses through. We charge $10 for a car or a truck. We don't charge by the person. Small buses and like 12 passenger vans, we charge $25. And then after you drive through the acreage of the fairgrounds with all the lights, you culminate at the North Pole Junction, which is a kind of like a fantasy land that's created by a very artistic in-house artist, Peggy Hagen Jones, who
does that? That must be a fun way to ride and end that trip. Yeah. I'm wondering, Lori, does Santa Claus show up? You don't have to answer that. Go ahead.
Yes, Santa Claus is there every night that we're there. So,
we mentioned that a representative from Visit Duluth was unable to join us, and we hope they're feeling better. I need to mention that some of the statistics on tourism this year from Explore Minnesota are troubling, depending upon where your business is located. Numbers related to this past week from all the past years show that in Minnesota, tourism is a $14.7 billion industry. Now that's an increase of $600,000 over the previous year. Hennepin County, which was up $500,000, captures 37% of the tourism revenue in all of Minnesota. Counties in our region were reported in this study as flat or up just slightly. St. Louis County took home 4.4% of the state's tourism business. By the way, Carleton County was the big winner up here with a 4% increase in their tourism economy. More recent data comes from a study done by the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis in partnership with Hospitality Minnesota. Through August of this year compared to 2023, the Hospitality Business Survey showed a decline in customer traffic, revenue, and most noticeably in profits. Businesses complained about higher wages and prices. 60% of respondents in the tourism industry cited tariffs as the leading cause of higher prices. Looking ahead to the remainder of the year, the feeling going forward was that the outlook is uncertain or leaning towards negative. The positive on that is, though, that feeling was stronger among metro respondents than from northern or rural ones. And that's because we get snow. And that is the winter's economic impact for us. And of course, one of the industries that enjoys that most of anybody is power sports. So we spoke with Pete Gassert of Duluth Lawn and Sport to hear how the winter season impacts his business.
Hi, my name is Pete Gassert. I'm one of the owners of Duluth Lawn and Sport. We specialize in winter tourism and snowmobiling. We have about 25% of our year-round business is winter business is related to snowmobiling, in both people coming in the area to trail ride for recreation, and a big part of it is ice fishing, people using snowmobiles for ice fishing throughout the state and into Canada.
I'll turn now to Jennifer Hansen. She is the marketing director at Spirit Mountain here in Duluth. As we just heard from Pete, winter business is extremely important to his business, but it's just a part of his business. For Spirit Mountain, a downhill ski area, I gotta believe that winter is really at the top of your list.
You know, winter is everything to us. Fresh lake effect snow is how we survive all winter long.
As you look ahead, how important is that snow to the success of the season?
It's very important. We have snowmaking capabilities, but when you have lake effect snow, it just makes everything so much easier. And we're expecting a lot of it this year with a La Nina winter, which means that the weather will be colder, so the snow that is here will stick around, and it's going to be wetter, so we're going to get a lot more of that snow.
As you look ahead towards the season, what kind of a forecast do you see for Spirit Mountain this year?
We see snow. We see fresh, wonderful white snow coming, and everybody skiing in the woods.
What is the economic impact of Spirit Mountain for other businesses in and around the hill itself and Duluth and the general area?
Yeah, we have about a $28 million economic impact from our operations because people love coming to Spirit, but they love spending time in Duluth after skiing. They love staying in the hotels, eating out, shopping, and there's so much to do in Duluth.
Do you think the areas right around Spirit Mountain tend to benefit more than, say, some of the outlying areas, or do you ever track that to, say, like the Lincoln Park Craft District or something like that?
The Lincoln Park Craft District is huge, and seeing a lot of that economic development moving out west, with West Duluth seeing new businesses, Lincoln Park growing like crazy, it helps us because we get to say, hey, come skiing and come visit all these great breweries, come shopping, come stay in our wonderful hotels.
And that spreads across the region and the city of Duluth as well.
It really does. And sometimes people ski for a day and they'll head up the shore. They'll head and explore all around the region.
One quick question, and that is, what do you have lined up that's new, bigger, and better and going to bring more people to Spirit Mountain this winter?
We just did a great capital improvement project to put in a new lift, which we call the Highline Lift. It's a 4-seater to bring people up the mountain faster. So less waiting in lines, a quick ride up to the top, and then you're floating on down.
Getting back to the first set of numbers from Explore Minnesota, it's a national fact that Canadians are not coming to Minnesota or any place else along the border. Canada at the crossing point at Grand Portage in April was down 38%, and year to date the crossings at the border north of us are down 25%. Does that affect Spirit Mountain at all?
You know, when the borders closed a few years ago, we had to look at other options, and they're about 3.5 hours away. So what other metros are 3.5 hours away? We see a lot of people coming up from Eau Claire. That's a huge market for us to tap into, as well as La Crosse. And we see a growing population coming all the way from Fargo. So our radius for visitors is really spreading to a 5-hour drivable radius for frequent visitors.
We're talking to Jennifer Hansen. She's the marketing director for Spirit Mountain, and this is In Business with Almanac North. Back to Lori Huber and Lights in the Pines. How long has that thing been around in Two Harbors? In Grand Rapids.
We are in our 3rd year, and our first year was a non-snow year. So the weather does not affect our business like it does the ski business. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't fun to run out every night through the mud, but we survived and we did very, very well.
As you asked, or as I asked Jennifer, what new things have you added? Nathan Bentley was saying that they spend $250,000 a year with new light displays. I assume you have to do the similar amount on a different scale.
Yes, our light displays are provided or are sponsored by businesses and families throughout Itasca County and the surrounding areas. And that's how we grow our light displays. So people, they come through, they drive through and they say, hey, how do I get to be a part of this? And we show them how they can be a part of it. So.
And volunteers are what make it all work.
Yes, volunteers 100%. Nobody gets paid to work at Lights in the Pines.
We're so lucky to have both of you here with us on Almanac North. But I want to talk a little bit about just the snow and the business of winter and how that contributes to your business. And Jennifer, how closely do you watch the weather forecast between now and opening day?
Oh, I check it hourly. I am always on it. In order to make snow, which is important for our snowpack, the humidity needs to be right. The temperatures need to be right. Our incredible team that focuses on snowmaking, they are checking it more than people are checking Facebook nowadays.
And the snowmobile races that used to start the season are now moved?
Yeah, we have those at the end of the season. Just keeping that snow fresh for the skiers, and snowmobiles can churn it all up and have a great spring party every year.
That really does attract a lot of people, and that's a kind of a different crowd than the downhill skiing crowd.
Yeah, it is. But it's really fun to bring different people in and show them all the great amenities that Spirit has to offer and that Duluth has to offer.
Lori, how closely this time of year do you watch the weather forecast to make sure that you don't have another year like you started out with 3 years ago?
We hope for snow because it's a great backdrop for the very brilliant LED lights. But you know what? We'll struggle through if we have to. We're hoping that Mother Nature is going to cooperate and help us make a very beautiful, bright and shiny holiday season.
Spirit Mountain has the ability, of course, to make snow, so they've got that going for them. And Jennifer, one last question. When do you expect to start the snow cannons on the hill?
The snow cannons are running, and so we are building a nice base, and we're hoping to be open soon.
Open to be open soon for Thanksgiving, you think?
Not for Thanksgiving, but shortly after.
Well, very good. Thank you, Jennifer Hansen, the Executive Marketing Director for Spirit Mountain. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. And Lori Huber, thank you for driving in from Grand Rapids. And Lights in the Pines, we wish you both the best of seasons. And you do contribute to the local economies of your communities, because when people come, they spend money, they stay, they enjoy other things. It's not just a one and done experience, either on the hill or in your drive-through event. And that, I want to say, is on Saturday and Sunday, correct?
That is on Friday and Saturday
Friday and
nights.
Saturday.
We open the night before Thanksgiving because we're trying to catch people that are in visiting their relatives. So,
Well, let's take a short trip back in time. For years, a very well-known Christmas tree business, Halverson Trees, operated out of the DeWitt Sites building in Canal Park. Let's go for a walk through that history. This is In Business with Almanac North. O Tannenbaum, the Christmas tree carol, is of German descent, and its true translation is not Christmas tree, but fir tree, though there are some connections. And there's also a historic Christmas tree connection on a business note here in downtown Duluth, right behind me at the Canal Park building by DeWitt Sites. Roy Halverson left a regular job to become a woodsman in 1929. In January of 1944, he bought 330,000 acres of land populated by large stands of black spruce. There were many parts of this story, but logging this vast remote area had always proved difficult, which is why the tall timber still stood. So in making money, the idea was not to try to get out the entire tree, but what if you only wanted the very perfectly shaped tip top of the tree, which was easier to transport? And maybe it would make the perfect tabletop Christmas tree for the holidays, much smaller than the whole tree. That's what Halverson's idea was, and downtown, in Canal Park, in this building behind me, that's where his business took off. The showroom is right up front on Canal Street. Let's go in and take a look. This three-story brick building was added to the nearby DeWitt Sites furniture factory in 1954. The walkway over the alley now connects the two parts of the building, which required a ramp because, well, the floors didn't quite line up. The treetops were harvested in late autumn and trucked here to the Halverson processing plant at Canal Park. This was back when the area was more industrial than touristy. After being treated with a fire-retardant silver paint, the trees were flocked with artificial snow. Using cellulose fiber, rayon lint, glue, and watercolors, the workers made the trees look like they were covered with white snow. But why stop at white? This was the 1950s after all, and the fashion sense of the day was described as mid-century modern, or to put it another way, tacky. That's why your Halverson miniature Christmas tree could come to you in any color, silver, gold, and even hot pink. Much of the space in the building was cold storage where the trees would sit until they were boxed and shipped coast to coast and to several foreign countries. They became a standard Yuletide tradition in many households, and Halverson sold over 1.5 million miniature Christmas trees every year. The last Christmas for Halverson's mini trees was 1975, because by then Roy and his family had moved on to a new business opportunity that started quite by accident in 1959. Because Roy was now growing and harvesting more trees, he purchased large forest-conquering machines from a Canadian manufacturer. That company was branching out and making smaller machines that they thought could be used in the forest industry. By mistake, though, they shipped one of these smaller machines to Roy. He kept it in the corner of the warehouse. But then one day his son Tom took it home, cleaned it up, and took it out for a winter drive across the Duluth Country Club. And had so much fun, he convinced his dad that these motorized sleds were better suited for recreation than forestry work like timber cruising. Halverson distributed Ski-Doo snowmobiles all over the Midwest. Roy Halverson left us in 1949 at the age of 91. He left behind a Christmas tree business memory for us to share with you on In Business with Almanac North. This is In Business with Almanac North. Well, before we wrap up tonight's In Business, let's take a quick look at some of the top business stories making headlines across the region this week. In Hermantown, plans for a major data center have been put on hold. Mortenson Development has paused its permit requests after a petition and a lawsuit called for more in-depth environmental review. The company says it wants more time for public discussion and is working to schedule an open house to address community concerns. The project, which could eventually reach 1.8 million square feet, would be the largest ever proposed for a development in Hermantown. At Duluth International Airport, the Airport Authority has received just over $20 million in new federal funding to build a replacement air traffic control tower. The current tower is one of the oldest in operation anywhere in the country. Lawmakers say the new facility will improve safety, support growing air service, and could break ground as soon as next year, supporting hundreds of construction jobs when it does. In Duluth, the city's 1200 Fund is celebrating 40 years of supporting local entrepreneurs. Since 1984, the fund has provided more than $12 million in low-interest loans to nearly 100 different businesses, helping create and retain about 1,900 jobs. The program continues to play a key role in financing startups and small businesses that often struggle to access traditional lending. And in two harbors up the shore, a 75-unit housing project could soon help ease the region's housing shortage. Vision Incorporated has committed $15 million to build the North Shore Flats, with support from state and local partners, the city, school, and county. They'll now consider tax abatements from those government agencies that developers say are critical to keeping rents affordable. Leaders call the project a major step in helping workers, seniors, and families find affordable housing in the fast-growing community. I'm Ken Bueller. Thank you for watching this week's In Business with Almanac North. If you missed any parts of tonight's show, you can always watch it on pbsnorth.org or listen on Monday at 5:30 on the North 103.3. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, let's take care of each other.